The 16th century was when travelling freak shows first became popular. So over the centuries they have produced many dark and interesting stories of freaks and their life on the road. It might sound harsh to call them freaks, but we live in a different era now and there is really no other word for them. So from the pig-faced lady to the elephant man, these are the 10 most shocking old freak acts. Born in 1880, Minnie Woolsey was billed under the name Cuckoo the Bird Girl. Suffering from a very rare skeletal disorder, she had a small head and a narrow face. She also had no teeth or hair and is thought to have been completely blind. When performing, she would wear a Native American costume and speak in a made-up language. She didn't seem to do much other than dance around covered in feathers, but she was so well respected that she featured in the film Freaks, a film that was banned in the UK for 30 years. Like most travelling freaks, her background is very mysterious. The only thing we know about her early life is that she was rescued from a mental asylum. We also don't know when she died, but she was still performing in 1960. Maybe she's still alive today, travelling the world with the circus, aged 135. Born in 1870, Ella Harper was an icon of freak culture. People travelled from all over the world to see the deformed woman known as Camel Girl. Her knees were bent backwards, which forced her to walk on all fours. She earned $200 a week for performing, which was a hell of a lot for the 19th century. In 1886, she stated that she aims to leave the freak show business and pursue education. She disappeared from the business soon after. Records of her later life are hard to find, but according to the 1920 census, she was living in Nashville, where she died 1 year later. Born in 1901, Schlitzie the Pinhead became world famous for his role in the film Freaks. Having spent his entire life as a sideshow performer, he was known for his tiny head and lack of height. He was just 4 feet tall, he was short-sighted and suffered from mental retardation. He was said to be as intelligent as a 3-year-old and could only form basic sentences. He was usually billed as the last of the Aztecs, the missing link, or something even more offensive. His birth name was possibly Simon Metz, but that's been disputed as no one knows for sure who he was or where he came from. Born in 1834, Julia Pastrana was known as the Ape Woman, or sometimes known as the Bear Woman. She had abnormally large ears and lips, and her face was covered in thick black hair, which once caused Charles Darwin to say her face had a gorilla-like appearance. She made a name for herself travelling across Europe and North America with the freak show. Despite the respected medical doctor Alexander Mott describing her as the result of a human mating with an orangutan, she found love and was married in 1857. She was 23 at the time. So for anyone watching this who happens to be both single and over the age of 23, just remember that you are less romantically successful than someone they used to call the Ape Woman. Her marriage didn't last long though, as she died 3 years later. Her husband went on to mummify her body and marry someone else who looked just like she did. He was later committed to a Russian insane asylum. Born in 1881, Frank Lentini suffered from severe deformity, which was the result of a partially absorbed conjoined twin. I don't know what a partially absorbed conjoined twin is, but I'm pretty sure I don't want to. Lentini had a full-sized third leg. Attached to the knee of his extra leg was a small foot, bringing his toe count up to 16. When he was 8 years old, his family moved from Italy to America, where he joined the circus. Billed as the Great Lentini, he would kick a football across the stage with his extra leg, which I guess passed for entertainment back then. He led a relatively boring life for a freak show performer before ultimately passing away aged 85. As all of his legs were different lengths, he used to joke that even with 3 legs he still didn't have a pair. A common story from freak shows all across Europe is the pig-faced woman. The tales all describe the same thing, an upper-class woman with the body of a human, but with the head of a pig. In 1815, rumours spread that a pig-faced woman was living in London, which led to mass panic. Shortly after, freak shows started taking advantage of this. Some shows moulded a pig-faced woman out of wax, but some shows gave alcohol to a bear until it was drunk, shaved its fur off, put it in a dress and gave it a wig. Apparently shaved bears in dresses kind of look like pig women. This was such a common practice that Charles Dickens once said no fair is complete without one. The original story of pig-faced woman goes back to the early 17th century. It is that a witch once cursed a man's wife, but she gave him the choice of whether his spouse would look like a pig to him but normal to everyone else, or look normal to him but like a pig to everyone else. Born in 1838, Charles Stratton became world famous under the stage name General Tom Thumb. With the help of the legendary circus pioneer P.T. Barnum, he travelled the world and won over many fans. He was basically just a dwarf standing just over 3 feet. But people loved to see him, especially when he was dressed as an old soldier. The best thing about him is that he married someone of similar height and led a happy life with her. They eventually retired to a large mansion, which must have seemed really big to them. When he eventually died, over 20,000 people attended his funeral. Born in 1841, Chang the Chinese giant was nearly 8 foot tall. Standing 7'9", he made a name for himself in China by entertaining the emperor. It is unknown why he left China, but he moved to England in 1865. Thousands of people would pay money just to see his huge frame and to hear his Chinese accent, which was also quite rare at the time. He went on to tour Europe and North America, where people went to see him for the same reasons. At freak shows, a dwarf would often be stood next to him, making him look even taller than normal. He earned $500 a month, which was good money for someone who just stood around all day doing nothing. Assumed to have been born in 1909, Susie the Elephant Girl suffered from a rare skin condition. Shortly after her birth, her skin turned grey and became very thick and rough. And as she grew older, her skin started to resemble that of an elephant. In 1927, she visited America as part of a freak act, along with a bearded lady and a giant woman. As she was quite shy, she rarely performed outside of New York, but her last known performance was in Pennsylvania, where she was billed as the Swamp Girl. Her act basically just consisted of people staring at her skin for a while. Some reports suggest she died in New York in 1975, whereas others suggest she returned to her home country of Germany. Joseph Merrick was immortalised in the movie The Elephant Man. He was born in England in 1862. In his early life, his skin developed thick and lumpy, and it only got worse as he grew older. One of his feet, arms, and his head also became grossly enlarged, and he even damaged his hip when he was a child. Rejected by his parents, he left home young. At age 22, he was given a deal with a freak show. He was taken on a tour of Europe. While in Belgium, his manager robbed and abandoned him there. But he eventually found his way back to London, where he was allowed to live in a hospital for the rest of his life. He died in 1890 at the age of 27. The cause of death was a dislocated neck. Due to the weight of his head, he was forced to sleep sitting upright. It is believed that his neck injury resulted from him sleeping lying down, so that he could be more like other people. Joseph Merrick's story is both shocking and sad.